People often assume that a woman living alone must feel lonely, unhappy, or emotionally incomplete. Society has trained many people to believe that a woman's happiness is connected to having a man beside her. When people see a woman eating alone in a restaurant, traveling alone, or living independently in her own apartment, they quickly create stories in their minds. Some think she failed in relationships. Others believe she is difficult, too career-focused, emotionally damaged, or secretly desperate for love. But the truth is very different. Living alone does not automatically mean living in loneliness. In fact, for many women, living alone becomes one of the most peaceful, empowering, and emotionally healthy experiences of their lives. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing.
Loneliness is the painful feeling of being emotionally disconnected. Even when surrounded by people, a person can sit in a crowded room, be in a relationship, or even live with family and still feel deeply lonely inside. Solitude, on the other hand, is the choice to spend time with yourself without feeling empty. Many women who live alone are not suffering from loneliness at all. They are enjoying solitude. They finally have space to think clearly, heal emotionally, and live without constant pressure from others. For some women, living alone becomes a form of freedom they never experienced before. They no longer have to explain every decision they make. They can decorate their homes the way they want, spend their money according to their priorities, and create routines that support their mental peace. There is no daily conflict, no emotional tension, and no constant need to please someone else. After years of dealing with unhealthy relationships, criticism, control, or emotional exhaustion, peace can feel more valuable than companionship. Many women who choose to live alone are also focused on personal growth. Instead of spending all their energy trying to maintain difficult relationships, they invest time in building themselves. They study, work on their careers, improve their health, travel, read books, learn skills, and discover passions they once ignored. Living alone gives them the opportunity to truly understand who they are without outside influence. They begin to develop confidence because they learn how to handle problems independently. Paying bills, making decisions, facing challenges, and taking care of themselves builds emotional strength over time. Another important truth is that some women feel less lonely living alone than they did in toxic relationships. Being emotionally ignored, disrespected, manipulated, or constantly misunderstood can create a deep form of loneliness that is far more painful than physical solitude. A woman may sleep beside someone every night and still feel invisible. When she chooses to leave that environment and live alone, she may finally feel emotionally safe. Her home becomes a peaceful place instead of a battlefield. Silence no longer feels empty, it feels healing. Social media and movies often push the idea that happiness only comes from romance, marriage, or constant companionship. Because of this, independent women are sometimes judged unfairly. People may ask them questions like, "Don't you feel lonely?" or "When will you settle down?" These questions assume that a woman alone must be missing something. But many women are not waiting for someone to complete them. They already feel complete within themselves. They understand that a relationship should add peace and value to life, not become the only source of identity or happiness. Of course, living alone does not mean a woman never experiences difficult moments. Everyone has nights when they feel emotionally tired or wish for support. Independence does not remove human emotions. However, emotionally strong women learn that temporary loneliness is better than losing themselves in unhealthy situations. They would rather protect their peace than stay in relationships that drain their energy and self-worth. Some ignore red flags because they are emotionally attached. Others stay because they fear loneliness, financial struggle, family pressure, or public judgment. In many cultures, women are taught to keep the relationship together no matter how unhappy they are. They are praised for tolerance, even when that tolerance destroys their emotional health. But peace has a value that cannot be understood until someone loses it. A woman constantly living in stress begins to lose herself slowly. Her confidence weakens. Her mental health suffers. She may become anxious, emotionally numb, insecure, or deeply unhappy. Some women stop recognizing the person they used to be. They become so focused on surviving the relationship that they forget their own dreams, passions, and identity. Independence has a powerful effect on a woman's confidence and self-respect because it changes the way she sees herself and the way she moves through life. When a woman learns to stand on her own emotionally, financially, and mentally, she begins to understand her true strength. She no longer depends completely on others for survival, approval, or identity. This creates a deep sense of confidence that cannot easily be shaken by criticism, rejection, or social pressure. Many women grow up in environments where they are taught to rely on others for security and decision making. From a young age, society often encourages women to seek protection, validation, or stability through relationships. Because of this, some women begin adulthood believing they are incomplete without constant support from a man or family. They may fear making decisions alone, handling responsibilities independently, or facing life without emotional reassurance from others. But once a woman begins managing her own life successfully, her mindset starts to change. Financial independence is one of the biggest sources of confidence. A woman who earns her own income experiences a different level of freedom. She can make choices without constantly asking for permission or depending on someone else's approval. She can support herself, pay her bills, plan her future, and create opportunities for herself. This financial control often removes fear from her life. She no longer feels trapped in situations simply because she lacks resources. Many women stay in unhappy relationships because they fear financial instability. But independence gives them the ability to walk away from environments that damage their peace and dignity. Emotional independence is equally important. A woman who develops emotional strength learns how to comfort herself during difficult times instead of depending completely on external validation. She still values love, friendship, and support, but her happiness no longer collapses when someone disappoints her. She learns how to process pain, rejection, failure, and loneliness without losing her sense of self-worth. This emotional stability creates inner confidence because she realizes she can survive challenges on her own. Independence also teaches responsibility, and responsibility builds self-respect. When a woman solves her own problems, manages her own home, makes important decisions, and faces life directly, she begins to trust herself more. Every challenge she overcomes becomes proof of her capability. Even small achievements, handling finances, traveling alone, building a career, or making difficult life decisions, slowly strengthen her belief in herself. Confidence is not created by compliments alone. Real confidence comes from experience. It grows when a woman sees herself surviving situations she once thought she could not handle. Another important part of independence is freedom from constant people-pleasing. Many women spend years trying to satisfy everyone around them. They fear disappointing family, partners, or society, so they silence their own needs and opinions. But independence helps a woman develop boundaries. She learns that respecting herself sometimes means saying no, walking away, or refusing to tolerate disrespect. This is where self-respect becomes stronger. A woman who values herself no longer accepts treatment that destroys her peace or dignity. Independent women also become more aware of their identity without constantly adjusting themselves to fit someone else's expectations. They begin discovering what truly matters to them. They explore their own interests, goals, values, and passions. They stop living only for approval and start living with purpose. This self-awareness increases confidence because they are no longer pretending to be someone they are not. Society sometimes misunderstands independent women. Some people describe them as cold, difficult, or too strong. In reality, independence often develops from life experience. Many women become strong because life forced them to. They learned how to survive disappointment, betrayal, financial struggles, emotional pain, or loneliness. Their strength is not arrogance. It is the result of growth and survival. Independence also changes the standards a woman accepts in relationships. When she knows she can survive alone, she stops tolerating unhealthy behavior out of fear. She no longer stays with people who disrespect, manipulate, or control her just because she is afraid of being alone. Confidence allows her to choose relationships based on love, respect, and emotional safety instead of desperation or dependency. A woman with self-respect understands her value even when others fail to recognize it. She does not need constant reassurance to feel worthy because her confidence is built from her own experiences, struggles, and achievements. Independence teaches her that she is capable, resilient, and complete within herself. Over time, this creates a quiet but powerful confidence that influences every part of her life, from the way she speaks and makes decisions to the way she protects her peace and dignity. Society has long judged women differently than men when it comes to living alone, and this double standard reveals deeply rooted cultural beliefs about gender, relationships, and independence. When a man lives alone, people often describe him as independent, ambitious, focused, or successful. His solitude is seen as a sign of freedom and maturity. People assume he is building his career, enjoying his personal space, or preparing for a better future. In contrast, when a woman lives alone, society frequently reacts with suspicion, pity, or criticism. Instead of being praised for independence, she is often questioned, misunderstood, or judged unfairly. Many people automatically assume that a woman living alone must be lonely, emotionally damaged, difficult to love, or unable to maintain relationships. Others believe she is selfish, too career-oriented, or refusing traditional family values. In some cultures, a woman living alone may even face moral judgment, as though her independence itself is somehow inappropriate. These reactions do not happen because living alone is wrong. They happen because society has historically expected women to build their identity around relationships, marriage, caregiving, and family responsibilities. For generations, women were taught that their value depended heavily on being connected to a man. Marriage was often presented as the ultimate achievement for women, while independence was considered less important. A woman who remained single for too long was sometimes labeled as unwanted, too picky, or incomplete. Even today, despite social progress, many women still face pressure from family, relatives, and society to settle down quickly, regardless of whether the relationship is healthy or fulfilling. This pressure creates unfair expectations. Men are generally allowed to take time discovering themselves, building careers, or enjoying freedom before marriage without facing the same level of judgment. A single man in his 30s may be viewed as successful or focused, while a single woman of the same age may constantly be asked why she is not married yet. These questions reflect the belief that a woman's life must revolve around partnership in order to appear complete or respectable. Women who live alone also face assumptions about their personality. If a woman is confident, financially independent, and comfortable alone, society may call her intimidating, cold, stubborn, or too independent. Meanwhile, similar qualities in men are often admired as leadership and strength. This double standard punishes women for displaying the same independence that is celebrated in men. Another reason society judges women living alone differently is because female independence challenges traditional power structures. Historically, women depended more heavily on men for financial support, social protection, and stability because opportunities for education and work were limited. As more women gained access to careers, financial freedom, and personal independence, traditional expectations began to change. Some people became uncomfortable with this shift because an independent woman is harder to control through fear, dependency, or social pressure. Safety concerns also contribute to the judgment. Families may worry about women living alone because women often face higher risks of harassment, violence, or social vulnerability. While these concerns can come from genuine care, they sometimes become another reason to discourage female independence instead of addressing the real social problems that create danger. Instead of teaching society to respect women's freedom, people often expect women to limit their own independence for safety. Social media and entertainment also play a role in reinforcing stereotypes. Movies, television, and online culture often present women as happiest when they are in romantic relationships, while single women are portrayed as secretly unhappy or emotionally incomplete. These messages influence public thinking and create unrealistic expectations about what happiness should look like for women. Despite these judgments, many women who live alone build fulfilling, peaceful, and meaningful lives. They form strong friendships, pursue careers, travel, develop hobbies, and create emotional stability without depending entirely on romantic relationships. They prove that a woman's worth is not defined by her relationship status. However, society sometimes struggles to accept this because it challenges old beliefs about gender roles and female identity. The judgment women face for living alone often says more about society's fears and expectations than it does about the women themselves. An independent woman forces people to question long-standing assumptions about happiness, marriage, and success. She demonstrates that a woman can be emotionally strong, financially stable, and deeply fulfilled without fitting into traditional expectations. This challenges stereotypes that have existed for generations, which is why society often reacts with criticism before acceptance. Financial freedom changes a woman's mindset and choices because money is connected to power, security, independence, and self-confidence. When a woman has control over her own finances, she begins to live differently, think differently, and make decisions with greater confidence. Financial freedom allows her to create a life based on her own values instead of depending completely on others for survival or stability. It affects not only her lifestyle but also her emotional strength, relationships, goals, and sense of identity. For many women throughout history, financial dependence limited personal freedom. Women who relied entirely on fathers, husbands, or family members for money often had fewer choices in life. They sometimes stayed in unhealthy relationships because leaving would create financial hardship. Some sacrificed dreams, education, careers, or personal happiness because they lacked economic independence. Without financial security, fear becomes a powerful force. Fear of instability, judgment, or survival can push people to tolerate situations that damage their emotional well-being. When a woman earns her own income and gains financial control, that fear begins to decrease. She realizes she can support herself, solve problems independently, and survive without relying entirely on someone else. This realization changes her mindset deeply. She no longer feels trapped by circumstances. Instead of making decisions from desperation or fear, she starts making decisions based on self-respect, peace, and long-term goals. Financial freedom also changes the way a woman sees her own value. She begins to understand that she is capable of creating opportunities for herself. Paying bills, managing expenses, investing in her future, and achieving financial goals build confidence over time. Every financial achievement, whether small or large, becomes proof of her ability to handle life independently. This confidence often spreads into other areas of life, including relationships, career choices, and personal boundaries. A financially independent woman is also more likely to make decisions that align with her happiness rather than social pressure. She can choose where to live, what career to pursue, how to spend her time, and what kind of lifestyle she wants. She does not need to stay silent or tolerate disrespect simply because she depends on someone else financially. This creates emotional strength because freedom of choice increases self-respect. In relationships, financial freedom changes power dynamics significantly. A woman who supports herself is less likely to remain in relationships based purely on financial dependency. She can choose partners based on love, trust, compatibility, and emotional safety instead of survival. This often leads to healthier standards. She becomes more aware of her worth and less willing to accept manipulation, control, or emotional abuse. Financial independence gives her the ability to walk away from situations that damage her dignity because she knows she can survive on her own. Financial freedom also allows women to invest in themselves. Many independent women use their income to improve their education, health, personal development, travel experiences, businesses, or future goals. They gain access to opportunities that increase growth and confidence. Instead of waiting for someone else to create a better life for them, they become active participants in building their own future. Another major change happens mentally. Women with financial independence often begin thinking long-term. They learn budgeting, planning, problem-solving, and responsibility. Managing finances teaches discipline and decision-making skills that strengthen maturity and independence. It also reduces the emotional stress that comes from constant financial insecurity. While money does not remove all problems, financial stability often provides peace of mind and emotional relief. Society sometimes reacts negatively to financially independent women because independence challenges traditional expectations. Some people believe strong women become too independent or hard to control. In reality, financial freedom simply allows women to live with dignity and choice. It removes the fear-based dependency that historically forced many women into silence or unhealthy situations. Financial freedom does not mean a woman stops valuing relationships, family, or emotional connection. It simply means those relationships become choices instead of necessities. She can love without feeling trapped. She can support others without losing herself. She can build partnerships based on equality rather than dependency. Many women describe financial independence as one of the most empowering experiences of their lives because it changes how they see themselves. They stop viewing themselves as weak or dependent and begin seeing themselves as capable and resilient. Their mindset shifts from survival to growth. They dream bigger, speak more confidently, and protect their peace more carefully because they know they have the ability to create stability for themselves. A financially free woman often walks through life with a different level of confidence because she understands something powerful. She is not helpless. She has choices. She has control over her future, and that knowledge changes the way she thinks, loves, works, and lives every single day. Solitude can help women discover their identity and purpose because time alone often creates space for self-reflection, emotional healing, and personal growth. In a world filled with constant noise, social pressure, and expectations from others, many women spend years focusing so much on relationships, family responsibilities, work, or pleasing people that they slowly lose connection with themselves. They become so busy adjusting to what others want from them that they forget to ask important questions about who they truly are, what they genuinely desire, and what kind of life brings them peace and fulfillment. Solitude gives them the opportunity to reconnect with themselves without outside influence constantly shaping their thoughts and choices. When a woman spends time alone, she begins hearing her own thoughts more clearly. There are fewer distractions, fewer emotional demands, and less pressure to perform for others. This silence may feel uncomfortable at first because many people are not used to being alone with their own emotions. However, over time, solitude can become deeply transformative. It allows a woman to reflect on her experiences, mistakes, dreams, fears, and values in a way that is difficult when life is constantly crowded with external expectations. Many women discover that they spent years living according to roles created by society rather than their true identity. They may have been taught that their main purpose was to take care of others, maintain relationships, or meet cultural expectations. As a result, they often suppress parts of themselves to fit into what others consider acceptable. Solitude creates a break from those pressures. Without constant influence from partners, family, or social approval, a woman can begin asking herself honest questions about what she actually wants from life. This process of self-discovery often leads to emotional growth. A woman alone has time to observe her habits, emotional patterns, strengths, and weaknesses. She starts recognizing what genuinely makes her happy and what drains her energy. She may realize that certain relationships were unhealthy, certain goals were never truly hers, or certain fears were controlling her choices. Solitude provides clarity because there is less emotional noise, distracting her from the truth. Many women also reconnect with forgotten passions during periods of solitude. Some return to hobbies they abandoned years earlier. Others discover new interests, talents, or dreams they never had the courage to explore before. Reading, writing, traveling, creating art, exercising, studying, building businesses, or learning new skills often become part of their personal growth journey. These activities are not just distractions from loneliness. They become ways of understanding identity beyond relationships and external validation. Solitude also teaches emotional independence. A woman begins learning how to comfort herself, motivate herself, and face difficult emotions without constantly depending on someone else to rescue or validate her. This process strengthens self-awareness and resilience. She becomes more comfortable with her own company and starts realizing that her value does not disappear simply because she is alone. Instead of constantly searching for approval, she begins building confidence from within herself. Another important part of solitude is healing. Many women carry emotional wounds from past relationships, family struggles, disappointments, or trauma. When life is always busy or emotionally crowded, those wounds often remain hidden beneath distractions. Solitude forces a woman to confront emotions she may have avoided for years. While this can be painful, it also creates an opportunity for healing. Through reflection, therapy, journaling, spirituality, or self-care, she slowly rebuilds herself emotionally. Purpose often becomes clearer during solitude because a woman starts focusing on what gives her life meaning rather than what simply gains approval from others. She may realize her purpose is connected to creativity, helping people, personal achievement, spirituality, education, leadership, or building a peaceful life. Instead of following paths chosen by society or relationships, she begins creating goals that reflect her authentic self. Society sometimes misunderstands women who enjoy solitude. People may assume they are lonely, antisocial, or emotionally closed off. In reality, many women use solitude as a time for growth, reflection, and self-discovery. They are not necessarily rejecting love or relationships. They are learning how to build a stronger relationship with themselves first. In the end, the truth about women who live alone without a man is far deeper than the stereotypes society creates. These women are not automatically lonely, bitter, broken, or incomplete. Many of them have simply chosen peace over chaos, self-respect over emotional suffering, and freedom over unhealthy dependence. They have learned how to survive emotionally, financially, and mentally on their own, and that journey often makes them stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. A woman living alone is not necessarily rejecting love. She is rejecting the idea that her worth depends on having someone beside her. She understands that happiness can come from purpose, growth, healing, independence, and inner peace, not only from relationships. Some women choose solitude to discover themselves. Some choose it to heal. Others choose it because they refuse to settle for relationships that destroy their confidence or silence their identity. Society may continue judging independent women differently, but their lives prove an important truth. A woman does not become valuable only when she is chosen by a man. Her value already exists within her. Marriage, love, and companionship can add beauty to life, but they should never become the only source of identity or self-worth. The strongest women are often not the loudest ones. Sometimes they are the women quietly building peaceful lives alone, carrying their pain with dignity, healing themselves in silence, and creating happiness on their own terms. Their strength comes from learning that being alone is not the same as being empty. In many cases, solitude becomes the place where they finally find freedom, confidence, purpose, and themselves.